how do you know your limits if you've never got to them?
It's a good quote.
I call myself an old man, and people are like, "You're young." I'm like, I'm old because I've lived multiple lifetimes.
Yes. Yeah.
It's because of that speed and also that realization of people will bend rules if you offer them something good enough.
And even the Emmy nomination. Let's talk about that. When that happened, what was that moment like for you?
Oh, that was great. But even that was like, of course I was expecting it.
It's an aesthetic thing, right? Having the trophy and saying, I've done this. But I mean, it is an aesthetic thing, but also it's a bragging, right? I'm sure it'd be like, listen, I've won an Oscar.
And that tends to be my approach.
Yeah.
Because one, it's honestly more exciting, more motivating. When you start making progress, people root for you more. So the more unbelievable your goal looks and people see you're going towards, you're about to achieve it, it's very exciting for people, right? I want to try and make an impact so deep, so great, that there's a statue of myself, and I feel like that statue is justified.
Hi, Black Circle family, and welcome to another episode. And I am so pleased today to have Hamid Ibrahim joining me in the circle. Welcome, Hamid.
Thank you for having me.
Hamid, you are an Emmy-nominated filmmaker, co-founder and now CEO of Kugali, and one of the leading voices reimagining African storytelling for the world stage, which is pretty phenomenal.
Thank you.
So I always like to start at the very beginning, which is all good stories start there, and really talk about like that early spark. And so to my understanding, that was started in Uganda for you, to Kenya, and then finally to London, right?
Yes.
So what are the moments that shaped your love for art and storytelling when we think back at your time in Uganda and Kenya?
Interestingly, it was through the internet, but a very, at times back in the day, how the internet was, and it was Leonardo da Vinci.
Right.
That was like the first thing that gave me a spark for art. And then a spark for animation was slightly different because that was Lion King.
Love Lion King,
Yes.
classic.
So,
yeah.
and funnily, both of those, I happened to not be paying attention. It wasn't like it was something that I put on or that my parents put on for me. The Lion King specifically, I was asleep. And then I just woke up and I saw the screen. I remember I see them speaking Swahili. Obviously in Kenya, we speak Swahili, right? And I was like, are they really speaking Swahili? Am I still dreaming? And then I realized they are speaking Swahili, and it became my favorite film from that point. And that was the thing that made me really like animation. And then art-wise was Leonardo da Vinci, and it was the Mona Lisa. And interestingly, I know we're drinking water from a cup right now, but it was a water advert like for some water bottle. I don't know which one. I tried to find it. I failed to find it. But they go through different things much more than this. Then I got the Mona Lisa, much more than just art. And that image captured me quite a bit. And I went to research Da Vinci in the internet cafes. And then if you've researched Da Vinci at all, and you know his life, it is pretty remarkable. And that he became like my first idol. And that was the thing that got me moving the first time. So that was generally where the spark was. That was like the original idea. But not quite as strong as today, but that was like the set of points.
Again, it's so important about that representation, right?
Exactly. And because I thought about this, and I thought about if I would still have the same love for animation if that was not there. I'm not sure. I'm like 50-50 on it, right? The thing I know I like for sure, I really like good design. And most things have really good design. For instance, right now I'm more in business and more in leadership. And that, if you're doing it well, there's a lot of designing that happens and there's a lot of creativity you apply in that. And I don't know if my creativity would have settled in animation, for example, right? So there's that over there where it's not quite the most logical thing, if I'm saying like that. It's more of an emotional push. And the speaking of Swahili was that emotional push for me. I know my co-founders are slightly different. They're greatly inspired by anime, right? So theirs, it was that emotional push. So I think representation plays a part, but it's not as, at least according, well, this is where I am right now. I'm not saying it's the truth.
No, yeah.
From where I am right now,
Yeah.
I don't think it's the most important thing for me, but I have seen it be the most important thing for most people. So I know they've landed in something, maybe not animation, but to still do with design in some kind of way.
And you said something just a moment ago, and you said that those were your inspirations then. So what are your inspirations now?
I think it kept growing, and it's almost like I call myself one of the luckiest people alive Just because if I think about the Lion King one, I just woke up and he was there. Mona Lisa, it was an advertisement that just turned up, so I was not expecting that, right? And then another moment that really shaped my life was one of my aunties was listening to a motivational, like the old school one, right? And I remember the person said something to the breath of the human mind can achieve what it's forced to achieve. And just by luck, I happened to be walking down the stairs and I hear that through the door. Now, at that time, we were kids, obviously playing football, and we would juggle the ball. I don't know if you know what that is, right? Like you hit it in the air as many times as possible, so you keep the ball from touching the ground.
Oh, okay, yeah. Keep ups, I think we call them.
But
Yeah.
That way, we call it juggling in Africa, right? So we're doing keep ups and would compete, and there used to be a cousin of ours who would always win. I had this quote. I went, you know what? I believe I'm gonna win today, and coincidentally, I won, and that really shaped the way I see things. That made me go, if I believe it, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So it was just another slight piece of luck, if I'm to call it. But like in terms of shaping me, that's one of the core things, because I really thought about what makes me different from most people, because I don't think I'm the most talented person, although my talents are very varied. But two of the key things would be I have very high self-belief. That's on one end. And on the other end, I try as much as possible not to box myself in. And I make sure everything in my control, I do to the best I can possibly do it. On not even that, I usually try and go beyond what I think is even possible for myself. So when I set a goal, for example, a 2-year goal, I'll not set a goal I know I'm going to achieve. I'll set a goal which I'm like, how am I going to do that?
Right.
And I expect myself to rise to that occasion. And that's because of the belief I have in myself, etc., etc. So it's a very weird one. So it's not... My inspirations, as most people would be like, maybe it was this artist, maybe that person. Da Vinci plays a key role. Obviously, he had the same mentality almost, right? Where I think his quote was, how do you know your limits if you've never got to them?
It's a good quote. Very
Exactly,
good quote.
right?
Yeah.
So that's like, again, Da Vinci influence all the way through. But it's never been a specific, because a lot of artists I've met, they are very specific art that guided them through their life. My one that's been very weird, like people from different angles. Da Vinci is the only one who's closest to art, given he's the biggest influence. But even himself, if you call Da Vinci an artist, you're kind of robbing him of half of himself.
Right.
And he had that balance between art and science. So it's hard to answer, but I think that's a good basket of ideas.
But
right
it
there.
sounds like Da Vinci has been your staple, and it's still carrying you through to today. If I'm fair in saying that.
Yes, to a degree.
Okay.
Again, challenges too.
Yeah.
I think I can do better than him.
Love that. Okay.
That's a very big
right.
bar to clear, but I truly believe so. So maybe it may not look like how he did it.
Yeah.
But as I've gone through life, I'm like, okay, so he managed to do A, B, C, D. He invented this. He was leading in this. And he managed to do all of that because of the time period he was in as well. Because again, around that time period was when like the Enlightenment is just happening and all that stuff. So there's a lot of changes happening. Technology is improving. We're literally in the exact same moment right now.
Yeah.
So I truly believe I can. So it's one of those. That's now if I'm to go like that's where I'm going to be. So there's nobody right now who is more. There's nobody at the top who is inspiring me, if I'm to put it like that. It's more like I see, okay, what can I possibly do? So I don't know what that is, but what can I possibly do?
Okay, so that self-drive and that self-determination is the thing that is pushing you to
Right.
the outer limits. And then obviously with AI, like you said, the change in technology, which I'm sure we'll come on to at some point. But let's keep it back in that early spark and those early stages. So you're 17 and you've arrived to London, and I read that it was just a suitcase, a pencil, and a sketchbook.
Yep. Not even a suitcase, a backpack.
A backpack.
Literally like that one right there.
Yeah. So, how did you kind of navigate that cultural shock of starting over in the UK and still holding on to your creative dreams?
Interestingly, the UK amplified my creative dreams.
Right.
If I did not come to UK, I don't think I'd have pursued the creative side of things because I was one of the smart kids. Now, if you're not one of the smart kids and you're going to art, people kind of expect it. It's like, it's reasonable, right? That's like your way out, in that it's not looked at as very difficult, right? At least in exams and so on. You're not revising for time to get that.
Yeah.
So people would understand it. But because I was one of the smart kids, an expectation of, I'm going to be the next doctor.
Engineer, lawyer.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? Me specifically was doctor because, again, I was very good. The subjects I was really good in was physics, biology. I was very good at math as well. So architect was like my middle ground.
Right.
So that's why I thought the best chance was And then I come to the UK, and the biggest difference between the UK system and the Uganda system, or even most African systems, is in the UK system awards you a lot more freedom.
Okay, in what way?
And you can pick whatever you want to do.
Right.
You don't have those.
Oh, really? Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You pick like a number of subjects,
Mhm.
but like you only pick like 3 of those. The other 7 are the ones you have to do.
Right.
So UK gives you slightly more, and also just culturally in the UK, the teachers are more accepting of you doing other things, right? Now, especially coming from me, you're going like you're really good at physics. There's convincing anybody who grew up in Africa that this kid who was good at physics, one of the top people in the class in that, is gonna do art.
Yeah, it's not maths, it's not science. Like it's art.
Stories back home, or oh, he went out there, he got spoiled,
Yeah.
etc., etc. That's how it goes, right? So yeah, so the UK almost allowed me to pursue that a little bit more because number one, just the acceptance of it, just the fact that when the person, because I went with my mom, and the person asked me, and my mom was there, and they're like, "You want to see what he thinks?" And I remember I'd planned it. I made a whole PowerPoint presentation for my mom.
I love that.
To go through.
Okay, just to pause, like, because I want to. So, in your mind, you're like, right, I want to do art. I now have to have a presentation to explain this to my mom to convince her. So, how did that conversation play out?
My mom is quite accepting.
Yeah.
But I could see from her face she was very worried. Like she was extremely worried. Like she didn't think we'd play out. But I gave her like the backup plans. I gave her my reasons.
Yeah.
Right? Interestingly, I was very accurate in terms of predicting where the world is gonna go. But I gave those reasons. And I think she allowed it because she knows the backup was there generally. Right? And I was very hardworking as well. So I really pushed. I would really, really push. So it was she was okay with it.
She was pensive about it.
Exactly.
Right. So so you've gone on from there, and you've convinced. You're like, right, this is what I'm going to do. At what point did you realize that art and animation could be more than just a hobby for you?
I'd never considered it. Even when I was doing it as a hobby, it was never like a hobby.
Right.
It was just something I would do. It's the same way most people don't consider, at least I don't, you correct me if I'm wrong, all right? Different cultures. Most people don't consider when they play watching football as a hobby, for example. They don't think that like that's my hobby. It's just something you do in the weekend to pass time. So it was something more closer to that. But given, I always want to challenge myself to be as good as possible. And with something like physics, for example, the bar for you to start really making a difference is very far away. And you have to wait for somebody external to walk you through. Like somebody external has to approve you to all of these things before you can actually say you're making a difference, because you don't even know what's there yet. Whereas with art, it's one of the things where, because it's such an open plane of interpretation, you can actually start making a difference, and you can do your own research and push things from a certain point. And that was what was exciting for me, right, as well. And also one of the big things that really made art stick for me, it's a very funny story, because we're in a family home. Remember I told you the story, my auntie and the court. We're in a family home. We're lots of kids in there. At the highest, we're maybe like 16 kids around my age there.
Wow.
So when I say a lot of people,
yeah.
Now, if you imagine that many people, you don't quite get a lot of attention.
Yes.
And then now everybody, you do one good image and everybody's like, oh my God, and the attention is on you. It's like, it just adds on to it as well, just because you're getting that extra thing. And even when you're in class and so on, right, you're the art guy as well now. It gives you a little bit more. Versus if it was like the math guy or whatever, it's not the same. I don't know why, right? That doesn't quite hit. So that also pushed it a little bit in a way, yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it's almost, it propelled you now, and now the spotlight's on you, and now you're known for like art, Do you think that not pigeonholed you a little bit, or I mean, yeah, did you get the sense of being pigeonholed, or?
That's something I fight against. I'm gonna be honest. It comes with a lot of disadvantages, but it's something I never accept, right? And obviously right now with the social media world, how it's structured, it needs you to be pigeonholed for you to be successful at it.
Yeah.
That's probably why I'm not that great at it, because that's one thing I will not let happen to myself. Just because there's so much I can do in so many angles. And the moment you pigeonhole yourself, right? Somebody told me I have commitment issues, right? the moment you pigeonhole yourself in here, there's so much you cannot do. Now, there's some value to it within a period of time. So, for example, right now, my main focus, if I'm being honest, was investment for a while back. Obviously, that's still the main focus right now, right? So most of my brain is on investment things right now. There's more investment things running in my brain than there is creative things. That's 1 or 2 creative things, but there's like 10 investment things. Technically, that's a slight pigeonhole, but every single time in whatever I do, there's always something on the side I do. Like Kugali is technically my main thing now, right? But I have a side thing now with the mentorship program I did and Hamid Ibrahim portfolio, for example. If that takes off, I'll get another one.
Right, you're pivoting between all of the ideas. How do you balance all of those things? Is that
Lack of sleep,
right?
the usual,
Right.
But I do like to work. I do like working, and I think it's because I think somebody said it very well. If you're working for somebody else, it's a very different ballgame than working for yourself. It feels different. Actually nodding vigorously.
I am. No, because listen, when you're working for a company and you're a PAYE, you have that safety net, right? You know where your check's coming, you know how many holidays, you know the hours. But when you're working for yourself, it does feel purpose driven and it's exciting because you're doing it for yourself. But there is this unknown. Okay, I don't know when the next check's coming in. So I mean, obviously you can speak to that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But even beyond that,
Yeah.
your level of motivation.
Yes.
So on one side, I call it the difference between a fence and a prison. So when you're working for yourself, it feels more like you build a fence around yourself.
Okay.
Whereas if you're working for somebody else, that fence is built by that person, and it's very easy for that to feel like a prison.
That's
So it could
great
be the
analogy.
exact same structure,
Yeah.
but it feels different given somebody else did it.
Mm.
So that's the biggest one.
That's a great analogy. I've never thought about it this way. Somebody else is building a fence and that becomes a prison. That is great.
Yes.
Interesting. I want to talk about that kind of moment, the breaking through moment. And it's that sweet spot. You know, you're working so hard, and then you finally kind of start to get that recognition and things start moving. You set yourself a target of getting distinctions in every college project that you did. And that lends itself to when we were speaking earlier about that self-belief, right? So in terms of that, where did the determination come from?
I think I wanted to prove something to myself.
Right.
Because remember, here I am taking this huge risk. I know nobody anywhere near the creative field. I just came from Uganda. As people say, I was a freshie, right? I've just come inside this country. I don't understand half the things, right? People are weird. Everybody sounds like a cartoon character to me.
Right.
because that's the only connection I have with
Yeah.
the accent, right? So, oh my God, that cartoon character, that movie person, right? So everything sounds weird. Everything looks weird. It's cold,
Yes.
right? So everything is odd for me. And almost the only anchor for me is the work. So it's almost like it allowed me to focus in on just the work and block out everything, because everything here was weird. Everything back home, there are obviously stories of people, as I said, right, saying that he went in the UK, he's got spoiled now, he's not doing this. Those I just blocked all of that out.
And so, you know, along with you doing your O level, you didn't do your O levels. Along with all of that and that determination, that tunnel vision, you taught yourself to code on a long bus ride. So that's incredible discipline. So, you know, did that kind of shape you as creative and a problem solver? Do you think that played a part?
That was already there from before.
Yeah.
There's something now I know, then I would not have answered this, right?
Yeah.
Because even the way I create is generally problem solving.
Right.
I don't have, because most people I think are people who create, they have the image straight in their mind and they bring that to paper. I have an image in my mind, I bring it to paper, and on the way through, I edit it to get to the best image. So the image when I bring it to paper is not good. Very rarely, once in a while, maybe it's good, but very rarely it's good. And I realized that that's the same thing with coding. It's basically just problem solving. So my natural abilities, I would say, is problem solving. Even how I lead Kugali as a company, it's a lot of problem solving as well. So that's like my actual innate natural ability. So it's more like it just landed nicely there. The discipline bit, it came from, as you mentioned, right, of getting the distinctions and all the things. I had a ton of vision of that, but the result of me seeing what that afforded me, because I had really good grades and I had a very good portfolio. And when I went to apply for universities, I thought it would be a big disadvantage because I did not do GCSEs. I have functional skills, and you're applying for top universities. That most of them didn't even consider that. Even the ones who didn't consider functional skills were asking for me.
because of your body of work.
Body of work,
Right,
exactly, right?
right.
And that almost completely reshaped my brain when, because obviously you come here, like I was expecting, I thought racism was in my mind. I was like, that's going to happen. And again, this is not my personal quote. So people don't believe this, I photo people on this, but I truly believe this. It doesn't matter how racist somebody is. It doesn't matter what, they could hate you to the bottom of the pit of their stomach. But if they're wealthy enough to have money to invest in you and you can double their money, they'll give you that money.
Well, it's capitalism.
Exactly.
That kind of trumps it all, doesn't it?
Exactly.
The ability to make money. And yeah.
So if you're good enough, the rules start bending for you. And I learned that because there are universities who do not take fashion skills who messaged me back and really wanted me. What happened to that rule? Right? There's another one. This one, I don't say what the uni is because they'll get in trouble. I found out later it's illegal. They took me for dinner.
Right.
That is illegal.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Right? But if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
That's just a risk they're willing to take.
Yeah.
This one I can talk about. Southampton, in January, remember we started uni in September. In January, they sent me an email. If you want to switch unis, there's still a place for you here.
Wow. So there was like this real vying of trying to get your attention and
that switched my brain completely.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because then it was like, because at first, obviously, I was a bit scared, I was a bit unsure, right? But obviously, I'm just focusing to, I'm like, I'm going to do the best I can do. That's why I was aiming at all distinctions, most excellent portfolio. I messaged people who were in the university before, and I would always compare myself not with the people in my class, but people 2 classes above me.
Right.
So that was a comparison. Can I beat them? Just because I thought I was coming from a losing position. I don't have GCSEs. I'm like, somebody has GCSEs, they have more qualifications than me technically.
But now we know not necessarily, right?
Exactly.
Right.
That completely just switched it. In my mind, I was like, they bent all these rules for me and this is this. That means in life, I can actually, they give me an out almost of now I can shortcut my way through it. So if you look at Kugali's even speed, even my career, like the speed in which everything has happened. Because I graduated university in 2017. If I list out everything I've done between 2017 and now, as Tolu says, I call myself an old man, and people are like, "You're young." I'm like, I'm old because I've lived multiple lifetimes.
Yes,
It's because of that speed and also that realization of people will bend rules if you offer them something good enough.
Yeah, the value, right? If you're leading with value,
value trumps everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So landing at MPC, and working on the Lion King remake, Dumbo, Dolittle. What did it feel like to see your dreams turn real?
Very surreal. I have funny stories for that. I think one of the first funny stories was I didn't even believe I got the job when I was in there. So I arrived at the studio earlier, and then brought in a few people. So they had a few people, and they're going in rounds. Now, obviously, they call everybody who sat with me. They don't call my name. So in my head, I'm like, of course I knew it was a prank. What did I think I got this job anyway? Why did you get this job? These guys are working on this project. Then obviously they say, no, you're in the next coach, you're just Ali, right? Oh. But every step along the way, I could not believe it because it was such a distant achievement for me. Like it didn't even feel real. The way I tell people is from where I started off before, like in college or even in university first year, for me to end up working on the Lion King remake.
Incredible.
That is a more unrealistic journey than me becoming the CEO of a merger between Disney, Sony, and Amazon.
Wow.
That is more realistic in my mind than what that was. That's how far away that was for me. So it's very hard every single step of the way. I just couldn't believe it. Like it was complete disbelief.
And this is why we're talking about like that breakthrough. And even the Emmy nomination. Let's talk about that. When that happened, what was that moment like for you?
Oh, that was great. But even that was like, of course I was expecting it. It was more it wasn't that wild, right?
Yeah.
Interestingly, what's the word? Iwaju being good, like the moment I knew that was good. Because you know that it's good, but you're waiting to see people's reactions.
Yeah.
The moment I could clearly say it's a good film, it's a good animation, right? You should watch it. Before I'm like, okay, let's see what people think it's good. I think it's good, but let's see. The moment I knew that was the success for me. Like the Emmy and all the awards after that came after. Now, Emmy was a bigger one than the rest because this was a signifying moment in that anybody understands what that is. I don't have to over-explain it, right? For example, when I mentioned like Iwaju as a project's achievement, it is the first time in this is 100 years to ever collaborate with an outside studio.
Yeah.
Ever. like with
Crazy.
anybody,
Yeah.
right? So it's such a crazy achievement.
Mhm.
And I remember I would mention that in interviews, and they'll not include. You can see they doubt it, like it's so far away, right?
Mm.
And it's hard to explain to people because they'll then go, "Yeah, but I saw Disney worked with this person." I was like, "That was not a collaboration with Disney. That was da. It wasn't an animation." It's a lot of explanations around it.
Mm.
But if you say you are creator of a 3-time Emmy-nominated show, very clear, very concise, very to the point.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
that's the value of the Emmys for me. Like it really gave me that out to where I can say it forever.
Yeah, it lands immediately with people.
Exactly.
So if we're talking about Emmys, I know there is ambitions for Oscars in your list of things to achieve, right?
No, really.
Really?
It's a very weird position.
Mm.
I'll give you what happens. You know about hedonic adaptation?
No.
Okay, it's a concept of you get used to things very, very quickly.
Oh, okay.
And
yes.
it becomes your new
Right.
normal.
Okay.
Right?
And
Funny
we're
enough,
talking about hedonic
adaptation.
adaptation.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same thing. We actually approach it a little bit in Iwaju as well. I think when you see the dad, he's used to this life now, even though he came from the slums, or he came from the mainland, right? I think that has happened to me. First, I realized it very clearly was we had BBC messaged us to do an interview with us. And that was more like, okay, cool. You just set them up on this. Like, it was nothing. It was just like another interview I gotta do with BBC, which is gonna be great. Right? There's not, in my mind right now, this with you is the same with the BBC. This is even more pleasant, right? Because obviously,
It's a
you're
bit
in
more
person.
intense, yeah.
Exactly, right? I like it more. With BBC one is
Yeah.
pretty straightforward. Like, it's the same level. Same thing with the awards, because I've collected so many awards. Even if I'm to win it, it's almost like I realized I like them in that I like the respect they're showing to me, but it's not a trophy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody who was somebody I looked up in the film world complimented me, which they have, and say that was incredible, which they have, that carries the same value as the Oscar, for example.
It's that recognition and respect from your peers who are also kind of doing the same thing as you, right?
Exactly, right? So that's more like it's shifted it for me a bit, which is weird because I like the trophies. They look nice.
Yeah.
I like them a lot for that, right? If there's an award that looks nicer than the Oscar, give it the Oscar, looks incredible.
Yeah.
I think I prefer holding that one than the Oscar, which is crazy. If Oscar don't so many things, right? This is just more from a design perspective. But I like the recognition and the respect more.
Yeah.
For example, if there's an award I think we should be winning and we don't win, I'd feel upset about that. So it's not the trophy, it's more like I want to be recognized for the efforts I've done.
Absolutely.
Obviously, awards do that very well, but it's never the trophy of the award. It's the fact that you've won it. Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, it's that recognition. You're putting in that hard work. It's an aesthetic thing, right? Having the trophy and saying I've done this. But I mean, it is an aesthetic thing, but also it's a bragging, right? I'm sure it'd be like, listen, I've won an Oscar. I'm an Oscar nominator, or you know, like it's not.
That's nice, but if I'm about like my career in general,
Yeah.
For example, I don't brag about that Emmy as much. It's just a very good way to communicate. Oscar would be the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Very easy way to communicate the value of what you've created. It's very instantaneous, right? I would, just me as a person internally, in terms of like the bragging rights of things, the fact that we were the first in 100 years.
Yeah.
How many people have won Oscars? How many people have won Emmys? But the first in 100 years. Literally, even when you think animation, you cannot not mention Disney.
Yeah.
To close the deal, to me, that's bigger bragging rights to me, because that's something that is very hard to do, right? The fact that from where I came from, I managed to just reach to the work I've done. That's bragging rights for me. So it's more those things which are a little bit more, I don't want to say tangible, but the more impossible it is, the more bragging rights it is. So for example, right now, one of the key things Kugali wants to do is we want to change the whole African industry. We want to see if we can improve it tremendously. We want to see how much of a mark we can add. We want to extend the effects we've had. Even if we don't get an award for that, if we do that, that's crazy. I'll give you one. When we're in the Emmys, Simi, who was an actress who played Tola, when it was the general award, I was pretty chill. When it was for her, I actually got
Hype.
nervous.
Yeah.
Because then I was like, if she got it, it would play already. Her getting nominated already played a very big thing in our minds, which was when we were starting Kugali. One of the things we were upset about was, not even upset, just generally, right? We wanted somebody to be back home and not have to leave Africa to get that recognition for the work or do amazing work.
Yeah.
This is a girl who is like, how old is she now? I don't even know. But she's really young. She's like 13 or 14, 15. I'm not sure. But she's around that age. She's like super, super young. And she got Emmy-nominated. She lives in Lagos, grew up in Lagos.
Yeah.
And that only happened because of us. That's bragging rights for me.
Yeah. That impact.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That shift, right? Even the other one, like I told you the story of the niece wants to go to Lagos now, right? My friend's thing wants to go to Lagos. In my mind, I'm like, that's bragging rights. Like, how people could say they created something that even if you don't have the tangible, you can't really measure, because you can't measure that. You can't measure people all of a sudden respecting something more or wanting to go to a place more. You can't say it's your fault. People will be like, it's because maybe this, you played a part of it. It's very hard to be very specific with it. But there's some stories which are very specific, right? Like that's a story that amplifies that. Those are the things which feel more like bragging rights because they felt a lot more improbable when we started than winning an Oscar or an Emmy. That felt a bit more probable to me than that.
And it's like I said, it's real life impact and making change in people's lives and that. And I think that's a bigger purpose than than the awards and the accolades for sure.
Yeah. Awards are nice though. Please,
Yeah.
I love them. Yeah. Give me as many as possible. I know, like if you see right now, because I just moved house, I'm finding ways to organize them really nicely. And I want as many awards as possible. I want, again, to me, if you give me the award, I know you respect me.
Right.
That's a key thing. There's some places which have not given me awards, which I expected awards from them. And because of that, I'm like, bro, like, I don't think you guys don't rate me.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Go where you're celebrated, exactly. What I say. And so you've mentioned Kugali a few times. So I really want to talk about the building of Kugali. So, after Hollywood, you chose to pour energy into African storytelling, which we really need. More. So what pushed you to make that move?
It's two funny stories.
Yeah.
First of all, I was gonna do it anyway, but not in a big way, because I was just like, I have the talent, I have the abilities. I want to give something back because I already achieved my dreams, and I wanted to. Again, I'll actually tie this up to the Lion King and all that stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
Because when I did that, that's when I achieved my dreams. Kugali is not my dreams. Kugali is my dream for Africa. So my dreams were achieved. I was done. Like if after that point nothing ever else happened, I was satisfied. Right? So the next step was now, how can I give back? So I start working on that. That's how Kugali comes up. So that's the first one. So I'm doing something for back home, but I'm not as serious. We start Kugali, but even then, it's not full time. The thing that pushes me to go, let me just focus on this full time, is there's an animation that came from Nigeria. I won't mention it just because it may look like shade, but it's not. And it was exciting. Like it made a bit of buzz, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is actually right. It's exciting." And I showed it to the people I was working. At that time, working on Dumbo, and I showed it to my colleagues. Now I didn't give them any context. They roasted it.
Really?
Justifiably so.
Okay.
In other words, we are working on this high level. Like, I'll give a context. You watched the Lion King remake, right?
Yes.
Do you remember the chameleon?
No.
Exactly, right? Right before the buffalo thing, there's a chameleon thing that happens. I spent 2 weeks on that chameleon to make sure the fold on the skin was realistic. Just so it feels real. If I told you to point that out, you wouldn't point it out. You couldn't remember the chameleon, barely.
No.
So you can see the level of detail we're working on, right? That's generally the level of detail that is expected, right? That's the people. That's who I'm showing this to.
Right. Yes. Very detail orientated to the last.
They say first thing they mentioned, the lip sync is off. The hair got stuck on the shoulders. Look at the cloth simulation. Like it's all true things. And the example I give is, imagine your kid did a drawing that you're proud of, and then you show it to an art critic without context, right? And they're just ripping it up. Right. And there's another quote here is, you don't really choose what you believe. If you say something to me right now that shakes my beliefs, I have no control over that unless I lie to myself. And I'm not one to lie to myself.
Right.
So that moment it just hit me and I couldn't take it off my mind because I was like, I'm here working on the highest levels of visual entertainment and our best efforts back home is a joke. Literally, somebody could roast it, justifiably so. Like, you cannot, like, you can't even sue them for defamation because everything they said is true.
But I mean, are we overlooking the potential of the thing? You know, so we can roast it because
That
of
was
the
the
detail and the execution.
That was the point.
Right.
I was seeing the potential,
Right.
but because I just showed it to them with no context,
Yeah.
they're just judging it as a piece of work on its own. So I was excited because of the potential. That's the thing that was missing. There's something when your kid does an amazing drawing for a kid, you're seeing the potential.
Yeah.
So they roast it, and then you know what makes it worse? They now go online, African VFX. You know what they find?
Go on.
African Spider-Man. Have you ever seen that?
I feel like I've seen clips of this on like social media.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, isn't there like an Indian Spider-Man as well? Like,
I think so, right? But now that it just builds on that.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I'm laughing with them, but inside there's this fire inside them. Like, this can't be what people think about when they hear us. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to commit 100% on the African story thing. And my goal was just, I want to show we can make something incredible.
Yeah. Changing that narrative, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You want to achieve that, 100%. I wanted to show that we can make a piece of work. Because there was only two reasons, right? Either, for some whatever reason, which I don't believe, Africans just dumb and they can do this. Or B, a lack of opportunity. It's one or the other. It's like
infrastructure as well.
Even without infrastructure, you can create something incredible.
Yeah.
Like there's always a starting point you can start off from that you can create amazing art. But if there's no opportunity, if there's no way you can even start, you can show that.
Yeah.
So I was like, that can't be true because I came from there and I'm here with you guys. Right?
Exactly.
So that was like almost a driving thing. I literally could not ignore it. It just kept haunting me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to commit 100%. Obviously, I had a bit of a safety net for my position. Funny enough, when I quit the job, like 2 days, I think I got at least 2 or 3 job offers a month for about a whole year.
Wow.
Right? Just for the position, the project I worked on and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm ignoring that. And remember, I was so broke at some point with these job offers. I was living off rice and eggs. Oof. Because eggs is like £2.
Yeah.
Rice is like £2, and that's a week of food.
Yeah.
So I was living on rough eggs with tomatoes and ketchup.
Oh.
And I'm denying jobs, right? Just because I saw the vision and I didn't want to be a hypocrite, like a hypocrite to myself. Because I was looking at it, I was like, I quit this to build this. What would it say about me if I'm to jump back in versus trying to see this through?
Yeah, you're not leaning on your own vision.
Exactly. And I was always comfortable because I had I could always go back. The people are looking for me to do work. So I'm guessing I was privileged in that thing, in that I knew if this doesn't work out, I can just jump back right there.
Right.
But I was like, I'm going to give it a good shot through. And that's how it starts. That's how Kugali. And then I reached out to this Tolu and Ziki. I never met Tolu in person. I met him the first time in person in 2019.
Oh, wow.
And we've been working together since 2017.
Right. And that brings my segue onto my next question. So how did you and your co-founders come together to build Kugali?
When I got this realization, even actually before it when I was just trying to do something for Africa, another quote, if you want to go far, go with a group.
Yep.
If you want to go quick, go alone.
Yep.
All right. So, and I wanted to put together a group because I think I went back in Uganda, I was looking at studios, and one thing I noticed was most of the good studios had one good person and then a bunch of mediocre people. So every good person was a silo of themselves. But if all those good people just came together in one studio, we'd have something incredible.
Yeah.
Like the output would be better than whatever output all these 5 smaller studios were doing. That was like my mind, right? So I was like, I don't want to make that same error. I don't want to do that. I want to see if I can build on that a little bit more. I wanted to see if I can do, like I was looking at who's starting off and is not quite there yet. So at this point, funny enough, Kugali had just gotten the name Kugali when I reached out to Ziki and Tolu. It was still a podcast, Dawa Wataku, right? And they were just talking to different people. But the key thing that made me go with Tolu and Ziki is the more people I talked to, everybody was almost hesitant and scared of what I was suggesting we do. Tolu and Ziki was, let's go with it. Like, was this random guy comes and given I have experience, right? I came from the industry. And I'm like, okay, I believe, as you saw the quote, we can kick this ass in Africa. If you're somebody who's struggling to make a 5-second animation, and somebody's saying that, you're like, no, let's do this fast. Let's do this fast. I'm like, forget about all of that. Let's start from here.
Right.
And there was that hesitancy with most people I spoke to.
Why do you think that there was hesitancy with the majority of people?
Because it's a crazy goal. It's a crazy goal. And if I'm to, it's something I've observed with most people. That's in general. Maybe there are people who are different from this. And interesting, most of them are delusional. So if most people you meet who talk like this are delusional, of course, I don't blame you for thinking I'm delusional as well, given I have some evidence to back myself up.
Yeah.
But even then, it's easier for you to avoid that a little bit, right? So, for example, yourself, you mentioned that you're trying to push into this more, you're trying to do this more, right? If I told you, okay, instead of trying to do the podcast thing fast, I'm going to think what's the craziest version of this. I want you to try and find a way where you're talking to, like, you broker a meeting between people in Iran, people in Iraq, and all that. And I'm telling you to broker that meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's try and find a plan to do that in a year.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you'll be like, the hell is this guy talking about? I can't even interview 10 people yet.
Yeah. We're jumping right into the deep end immediately. Yeah.
Exactly. And that tends to be my approach.
Yeah.
Because one, it's honestly more exciting, more motivating. When you start making progress, people root for you more. So the more unbelievable your goal looks, and people see you're going towards, you're about to achieve it, it's very exciting for people. Because you're an underdog, you're coming up, you're trying to do that, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's a difficult goal, somebody has to do it if it's worth doing. If you're not excellent at what you're doing and you don't push the envelope, somebody who you don't like will do it, and then you have to play by their rules.
Facts. Absolutely.
But in everything in life, literally every single thing you believe in, if you're going to just be there like, we'll just do our best, there's somebody who's looking to dominate. And when they dominate, they'll dictate what the terms of the arena is going to be.
That's a really good takeaway for anybody that's listening and who wants to do their own thing or they're on their path. Think big, dream big, do it. Set those scary goals for yourself. I may also start setting some scary goals for myself.
I think you need to. It's not even like it's not a nicety. I think it's needed.
Right.
If you've ever thought to yourself, I don't like the direction the world is going, it's because the people who are on that direction worked harder than everybody in your direction.
Not because they're brilliant, but they've just put the hard work in.
It doesn't matter. They can be brilliant. There's more brilliant people. There's brilliant people on either side.
Yeah.
It's just who executes better. So it's down to you. So if you don't like how people are doing it, you have to be better than every single person there. And you have to execute and get results better than them.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's no other option. Even when I was starting Kugali, right? Remember I had that thing of like, again, I saw this source. I'm going to change the image. I worked so hard. I had a desktop and a laptop. I'd work on the desktop. I'd get tired. I'll go in my bed, work on the laptop, doze off, wake up, do some more work, go brush my teeth, shower, go on the desktop.
Crazy.
Right? Even more recently, I realized it's because I was setting up a meeting with somebody for tomorrow, and I accidentally said 12 a.m. and they were laughing. It was like, you meant 12 a.m., 12 p.m. Then I laughed, right? Then I thought of, I was like, I've actually had meetings in every single hour of the day.
But my question is, and I've said this to people before, burnout. Surely there has to be that balance of looking after yourself.
Yes, but you build up to it. So the same way right now, if I told you to run 200 kilometers, you are breaking everything on your body. Like people who run 400 kilometers, but they have to build up to it. And my whole thing is, just to the point, if you're going to look after yourself, you're going to have the lattes and relax and not get burnt out. There's somebody who's pushing on those hours, going to build onto it, and it's going to build a world that you do not like.
Yeah, I do hear that. But I think there's just a lot of, on the other side of it now, where we're trying to push a culture that doesn't celebrate burnout. And I think that has its place. And I get what you're saying, that your opponent is working harder than you. But I think we need to change that narrative for everybody. This is my personal way. I'm not saying like take it easy and don't push yourself.
Again, back to my original point.
Yeah.
Right? If you win with those beliefs, that becomes a general belief. You get where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
me personally, again, I do think burnout is a thing. I never used to believe in it until I think I saw a friend of mine. I told me their story, and I was like, right. And right now I'm getting older, so I've definitely slowed down. Like I can't do what I used to do, right? So I feel it.
Yeah.
But I'm also very careful. But it's the same thing of you can push your ability. So it's not about. I think most people they burn out. What they try and do is, you've never run before, and you go run a marathon.
Okay, yeah.
That's
over.
why I think is now some people are forced into that, which to be fair, that's a true thing. But it still actually supports my point, because if you're prepped enough and you've pushed yourself enough to where you build your ability to where you can do more, when the time comes when things hit the fan,
Yes.
you're in a way better position.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And I do agree with that. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's more of increasing your ability to where what used to be easy for you or what used to be difficult for you is now easy. So it will not burn you out. Context.
Yes.
Your one is different because it's like 5 minutes each meeting, right? But I'll give you that one first. We did over, I can't remember the number now. Okay, for sure, over 70 meetings in one day during the Waju press run.
70.
But again, some of them are 5 minutes and so on, but still a lot.
Still, that's a lot, yeah.
That's different. In my own personal one, I think for about a period of 4 months, I was averaging 10 to 16 meetings a day.
That's a lot. That's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your diary must have been back to back.
Exactly. Right now it's chill. Funny enough, right now it's so empty. And do you know what I mean by so empty?
Go on.
I have like 7 meetings a day and it feels so chill. But you know why that is? Because I've been doing 16. Now 7 feels like nothing. 7, I feel like I'm on holiday.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing 7 to 10 meetings a day for myself, I am relaxed. Like I'm not even strained, right? Given, again, I think I was telling it to my assistant, again, I'm getting old now, right? There's a day I did 14, and I've been also I did 14, and I realized my voice was starting to go, and I needed like a banana and tea, right? But that's because I can talk for days. So I leverage that. There's some things I'm not good at, but that one I can do. So I'm going to milk that. That's what I mean. There's somewhere like, just think of it like with athletes. Yeah, there's something which you're really good at. Make sure you really push that, right? To it's like find out what your limit is, and you can grow what that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know we've been talking about Iwaju and Disney. I'll make sure I said that right. so I did not want to get roasted. And Disney, we've been speaking about that a lot. And I love this quote. So you once told the BBC you were going to kick Disney's ass. And that's such a bold statement, right? To turn into, so turning that statement into collaboration with Disney itself. How did that happen?
It was very crazy. First of all, somebody told me this is a flex as well. I never thought about it as a flex. Disney reached out to us to talk. Yeah. Right. So that was the first thing. So we put it. It was out there. It went crazy. Funny enough, if somebody gave me the thing to edit, like that we say thing to edit, I would have taken that line out. Right. Which is hilarious, right?
But it's the thing that got you noticed.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's so funny because obviously now, no, hell no, right? But before, like when it just came out, and that was the heading. Because I remember, because they interviewed us for a whole day. They were recording us for a whole day.
Oh, a whole day?
Yeah, and it came out just for a 5-minute clip. Yeah. So remember, we said so many things.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing that stuck to my mind when I was leaving the BBC, leaving the office at that time, not BBC Studio. BBC Studio was later, right? When I was leaving the office at that time. That's the only thing that stayed in my mind. And I remember going, nah, they'll take it out. They'll never leave that one in.
And that was the thing that made it.
Yeah. And it's because it was so harsh of a statement to say. I normally don't talk like that. Like, even right now, right? I always give it with a bit of give. I try to be reasonable. And that was a very unreasonable statement. But it was very accurate and it hit the point.
Yeah, but it's audacious. And again, it's audacious is the thing that we've spoken about on the podcast. And like having that audacity is not always a bad thing.
I always have it. It's just saying it is a difference.
Yeah.
So for example, if everybody knew what is running in my mind, they'll call me, the people who know me, they call me, they think I'm a little bit insane. Right? I don't because even my wife, if I'm being honest, right? Yeah. Same thing. But that's in my mind, right? And that's because, again, I understand, right? For example, like some ideas. For example, right now, I mentioned the thing about the burnout thing and so on, right? You notice I put in the breaks. I used the sports analogy. You can just jump to it and all that. I have put in all those caveats.
Yes.
And I normally do that. This one I don't put any caveat.
There was no editing. It was just.
It was just straight up,
Yeah.
like boom, boom, right away. But it was so impactful. They reached out, first of all, and the reason they reached out was the whole story. I never knew some of this, by the way. But when we're doing the documentary, I saw part of this. And also when I spoke to Jen Lee, I think she might know something about it. So Jen Lee, who was the chief creative officer of Disney, she saw this. She really goes through her news thing in the morning. She goes through her news and so on. She saw this thing. She was very happy thinking about it, right? And then she saw our stuff, and then she went to the website. She saw our work as well, and she ran to Halima, who is Halima was the other co-writer for Iwaju, by the way, right? But they're friends with Jen Lee, right? She ran to Halima. Halima, check out these guys. They're really good. And I remember Halima said to her, like, slow down. Right? And then obviously now they know about us. And it was that thing of like wanted to do something new. So it was again match made in heaven, right? In terms of that thing. And they were just like, let's just reach out to them to talk. There's nothing connected there. Reach out to us. In my mind now is I just called out Disney. They're reaching out to us.
See you?
Yeah. First thing I'm thinking, not even sue. I was thinking Disney snipers or something.
Oh, no.
They're like, take us out.
Yeah. I would be panicking. Yeah.
All right. That's one. No, those two. One was we didn't believe him. Because the person who reached out, because we had to get a hold of, apparently, remember we had an influx of messages at that time. We had to get a hold of. We didn't have much online presence. So they find us on LinkedIn. I think, and Elsa, who was at that time, who was actually the development exec for Iwaju, she reached out to us on LinkedIn with a new LinkedIn account. But obviously you see a new LinkedIn account is claiming they're Disney. You're like, Disney.
Yeah.
But then you see the email, it's a Disney email. Then you're like, okay, maybe you're Disney.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a very unbelievable moment in time. So we went through that. They reached out, we spoke, and then we like, let's pitch you some ideas. We pitched them 3 ideas. Interestingly, Iwaju was picked not because it was the best idea that all the ideas. Iwaju was picked because he was meant to be the smallest one. The show was meant to be much smaller.
Right. Okay.
He was meant to be 5-minute episodes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they realized even this small story was there when we were doing like the ideation and so on and giving them what we're planning to develop, right? And the world. They're like, let's make it bigger. And here comes the advantage of when you're dealing with most with leadership, right? Because the people who were in the meetings who were talking to were the chief creative officer at Disney and the president of Disney Animation. So a lot of people are, when you're, again, we're facing this right now even, right? When you're talking with mostly just executives, not the final decision makers, they have rules that they're given.
Right.
So they'll probably just say, no, you have to reduce the story versus you have to grow as a story to be able, like for the best version of itself. Right? But we had that advantage because it was the main people. So they were like, nah, let's make it the whole thing. Then the timeline grew and everything, and it became what it was.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm skipping a beat here. For those people who are listening today and they don't know the story of Iwaju, can you just explain a little bit about it, just so they got context?
Got it. About what Iwaju is
Yes.
or what goes on in Iwaju?
Both.
Both. Got it. Okay, I'll start with what Iwaju is.
Yeah.
So Iwaju is a short form limited series. It's on Disney Plus right now. And as a project, it's the first time Disney Animation Studios has collaborated with any entity to create an original animation. That's first. It was the first short form series Disney ever made. That's another one. And it's the first time Disney worked with a director and creators from outside as well.
Yes.
All right. So just to hit all those firsts over there. In terms of the story, 6 episodes, and it follows Tola, who lives in the mainland. So think millionaire, multimillionaire, 100 millionaire, billionaire almost, right? He's a dad. We have not quite put the wealth, but definitely up there, hundreds of millions or billions. That's the daughter. So it's someone like a heiress. If you've been to Lagos or you watch a Nigerian movie and you see the giant houses, think bigger than that even, right? So that's Tola. And then there's Kole, who is a houseboy. If you've been in Africa, I'm sure you've seen house help. And usually what happens is somebody bring in the house help and also help them not just to do the house, not just paying for them with that, but to try and pay for their education and stuff like that. In other words, they take them in almost like their kid in a way. So Kole is that. So from different worlds. So Kole is from the poorer side of Lagos, which is the mainland. Tola is from the island. And in the story, Tola wants to see the mainland, obviously, and because she's a kid, she's curious and all that. And her curiosity leads her to, as kids go, stubborn kids, she finds her way into the mainland and the story goes crazy, where there's some guy called Bode. It's a kidnapping story, which is crazy. So Bode is over there who runs a kidnapping ring, who's a very interesting character. He grew up from the mainland as well. And it's kind of, his story is a very sad one. In other words, because him and his mom were not treated well by the rich people, he now put that to every rich person. So he thinks every rich person is evil. even if now he's a rich person, but he's obviously excluded himself. So he's like a Robin Hood, by sort of stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. He steals from the rich and takes for himself and his friends.
Right. So very selfish.
Exactly, right? But his story is very close to Tunde's story, who came from the mainland, but he actually got an opportunity. Somebody gave him a chance, and he managed to become all of this. So Tunde and Bode literally started from the same place, and they could go in either direction. And then if you actually watch the story, there's a chance of Kole going in one of those directions.
Okay.
Right? Based on what's happening over there. And then you see all the relationships. Obviously, Tola is the only one who has not been mainland, but obviously she now gets her experience. And also her naivety and bravery in that naivety allows her not to accept the status quo of what the world is. So she'll challenge Bode, she'll challenge her dad as well, given sometimes she's wrong, obviously she's the kid. But some things, do you know about Eisenlag?
About
Eisenlag. It pretty much means when you're so used to things being in this way, you can't even see the other things. In other words, you're in this almost like tunnel vision.
Yeah, it's very blinkered.
So she breaks a lot of those and she challenges them. So this one girl challenging these 3 men to actually be better men.
Fantastic story. And I was looking at the comments on YouTube, just under like the trailer and things like that. And it's just this appreciation of visibility of culture, of like the representation, of storytelling, of getting it accurate as well.
Oh yeah.
The accents, like, you know, the traditions, and it's those details are so important. And so for you guys to execute that so well and just get such a brilliant response, that really means something, you know.
Oh yeah. When you mentioned about detail, because of production design on the show. Now, if you don't know, I grew up in Uganda. I know I mentioned that a few times. This show takes place in Lagos, Nigeria. When we started doing the show, I had never been in Lagos. So I was relying on Tolu a lot in the beginning. And then obviously when I went to Lagos, I was I was so attentive. I was counting, because I think with every city, most people don't even account for this, for example, right? I'll give a random example of something that's detail, which most people will not think about, but you feel it. In every city you go, there's a rhythm to the buildings.
Yes.
Right? So some places like a lot of park buildings here, then it goes small, or there's like big, small, there's a certain rhythm to it. I was usually counting buildings, tall, small, medium, tall, very nice, modern, all that stuff, like, because it adds to the feeling of the place. It was things like that. Obviously wanted to make sure, like, with people we hired, we had, obviously working with Disney, we had an opportunity to actually hire some celebrities, which people are more known, if I'm to call it that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to keep it authentic, because then they would be trying a Nigerian accent.
Yeah, we don't want that. Yeah, no.
We wanted it to be like the actual accent, and the different accents in Nigeria.
Exactly.
So if you look at the lady who was Hausa, you can tell she's Hausa. Now, okay, I could barely tell. Tolu could tell very quickly, though, right? So we rely on him a lot. Tolu was culture consultant, right? So if anything, whatever was in the script, which a lot of it happened, where it feels real for people who are not from Lagos, but if you're from Lagos, you're like, that's a lie. That would not happen like that. We would point that out. And there's some very obvious ones, which there will be a back and forth there.
Right.
But you had to learn, like, you have to go through it. And we're very strict on that to keep it as authentic as possible.
As we should. Because when I think of old Disney, for example, we think of Mulan and Pocahontas, and they're all speaking with this very American accent. But even like Little Mermaid, which was my favorite growing up. Just hearing Sebastian, like his little Jamaican accent, I'm Caribbean. So I keep pushing this point of representation, and so just going back to what I was saying about the comments, for you guys to just execute that so well, it's really needed. And I hope this is the direction that we continue to go in when it comes to culturally representative animation or film, even.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. I think there is a big gap in that. The analogy I use is, nobody goes to a Chinese restaurant wanting an Italian pizza. Right.
Yes.
Right? If somebody is going to that, give them what they came there for. And I think there's a lot of fear in the industry with risk-taking and so on, they all try to, it's like, nah, commit this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to change gears a little bit, and I want to focus on like future and legacy. So you've already spoken about all the awards. You've been recognized and nominations, global influence. So what's next for you personally and for Kugali?
Okay. I'll give you one good answer, and I'll give you one real answer.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Given they're related in a way, right? Two of which, actually. I'd say for myself personally, actually I'll start with Kugali because that's a bit easier.
Yeah.
Right now we're an investment round, as I mentioned, and we want to see how we can change the industry. And the investment round has even showed us is even more work than we thought that has to be done. The reason I say this is if you look at all our achievements, you would think us getting an investor will be so easy. Walk in the park. Now, maybe somebody say maybe it's our books, but I'm very sure it's not that, because we were speaking to the firm. We're speaking to a very renowned investment firm, and they said, and I quote, which has made me scared about the industry as well. And I quote, "Your book is one of the best ones we have seen in terms of in the industry." Now, Kugali, if you follow, I don't know if you can track HMRC. If you guys track that, you'll notice, right? We had a crisis moment about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Well, we had a big dip. We recovered from that. Now, I thought our book would be horrible because of that. Nope. So even with that big dip, if our book's one of the best, what's going on around the industry, right? That's number one. Number two, if with all those factors, it is tricky for us to raise investment, what chance does somebody starting up have?
Yeah.
Now, if there was ever like a big shining light in terms of, oh my God, a lot of work to do here, that was that. Is if us, with everything we have, we are not talking about theory anymore. We've done it.
Yeah.
It is there on paper. Right? It was successful. And we are having these problems. What about somebody starting out who has nothing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? They just have the dreams, right? So that was the first one, right? It's like there's a lot more work than I thought that has to be done in building the industry. Not only just in Africa, because I thought the worldwide industry, or I'll say Hollywood, I'll use Hollywood, right? The worldwide industry seems more stable. Africa seems more on a knife edge. And the difference is because of the scale. So because African's industry is smaller, the knife edge is much sharper. The global industry or Hollywood or the rest, right? Like the big players, like China, Hollywood, right? The industry seems more stable, mainly because of the scale. But it's still on knife's edge. But it's still like the scale of it is big enough to where that knife's edge doesn't seem too bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it may not even just be changing African storytelling in that industry and trying to find a way to fix that, but there has to be something has to change. But the entire creative industry, something has to change.
Agreed.
So that's Kugali's future, right? Planning wise, right? Legacy wise, Kugali, I would say if we can, I think we've done what we set out to actually do with Kugali. You completed that for us. Obviously now next step, we call it EIQ. E, growing the entire creative economy. I is innovating. We need to innovate. Q is high quality storytelling. Very simple. As long as we do that, we're in a good path. That's Kugali. Those are the answers, right? Now on myself, I'll give you the real answer and the good answer.
Yeah.
So I'll start with the real answer. It's going to sound very weird given that I spoke about the trophies and so on, right? I want to try and make an impact so deep, so great, that there's a statue of myself and I feel like that statue is justified. That's the real answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So something like that, right? So it's not the statue, but if I can make it enough to where somebody builds a statue of me and nobody will be like, bro, that's odd.
No, but your impact has been so huge that it's justified
Exactly.
to capture this in history.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So that'll be that's a real answer. Now to the good answer, dig deeper into the impact and so on. As of right now, I think you've noticed Kugali is doing one arm of what I want to do, which is obviously with EIQ, that's storytelling. But Kugali is doing it from a certain perspective, even though we deep into the other perspectives in terms of like growing the grassroots. So with education, we have Kugali Academy. Even though we talk to different governments, I think we met ministers of Ivory Coast, Nigeria, we met the president of Uganda, etc. So I'm going to be knocking doors of parliament soon, but I'm waiting for things to settle down a little bit, right? Even if we have all of that, there is a way where there's different perspective coming from that kind of thing. There's certain rules as an organization like Kugali you have to do before you start tarnishing the brand name. Because the brand name has to mean something. Somebody has to expect something from it. Right? So Kugali has its job to do. I'm starting, obviously I said, Hamid Ibrahim portfolio. And that has 3 main goals to it in a way. One of them is I want to see if I can revolutionize mentoring and education with different methods, right? Right now I'm doing the mentorship program. I'm starting to implement some things one at a time, right? I've built like a quick board game, which is a way which is good for memorization and so on, which I'm going to use to implement this. I want to get to a point where I can give you a storybook to read, or you watch a 5-minute animation and you understand algebra.
Oof. Okay.
And I think that's possible today.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
Now, that is one arm on that, is just revolutionizing education in general.
Mhm.
Now, the mentorship program is building towards that. So I've done the first cohort. They got the worst version of it. I told them this. They're Jenny Biggs, right? But even that, like statistically, I'll show you the report, but it's been incredible, the results from that. I'm going to apply all these principles as the courses are going on, just keep on building on top of it. So that's one part Hamid in my portfolio. The other bit is almost trying to find ways to change what people think about creatives.
Important.
Which is very funny, because the industry which is allowed the least creativity and flexibility is the creative industry, which is bananas.
Why do you say that? That's interesting.
Right now, if you are, let's say, or anybody you know who's a creative person, says they want to sit down to solve cancer, who's going to listen to them?
That's true, because they're not in that field. So there's no kind of gravitas behind what they're saying. Yeah.
Any problem that is important, nobody expects a creative to solve it.
Yeah.
But if you think about the world we're in right now,
runs on creativity.
Literally, not even that. We look at AI in general.
Yeah.
AI has all the answers. It's just the angle of the problem that AI cannot provide. You have to provide that angle. All right? So execution has been handled. Imagination is not there. And all the fields which are designed to polish up imagination are not allowed to be able to utilize that. So we're in a humongous deficit right now, where we have a tool right now which is smarter than PhD people. And the best use case we're getting from it is people using it for therapy.
That's so true. Or for finding out like calorie counting or something. Yeah.
That tool, with a little bit of imagination, you can do an insane amount of it. But because of the way it's designed, it's a blank canvas, so you can ask it anything. Most people are not trained how to approach that. They have no idea how to approach that. It iterates very quickly. Most people are not trained how to approach that. Anything you think of, it can do. Most people are not trained to approach that.
Yep.
Guess who's trained to approach all those things? Anybody in any creative field, that is creativity 101.
Yeah.
So you're literally the same way. I use analogy of mathematicians, right? Before coding, mathematicians were just like, these fancy people who do some cool stuff. Coding comes along, they are the authors of the world. I think the same thing is there for creatives. The difference is the way people saw mathematicians is different from the way people saw creatives. So creatives may not even be given the chance to show the world what's possible. So I need to change those minds a little bit. Because I cannot think, even creatives themselves don't see it in that way. Like a best example I can give you right now. With something like ChatGPT, you can build an application right now, or any Gemini or whatever, right? You can build an application right now in a week, whatever application you imagine. But the people doing this are the people who used building applications from before. Somebody, I'll give you like a production designer, you watch the word. There's nothing on that screen that I did not approve or I did not want there. That's a whole city.
It's intense, yeah.
There was an application. There was different UIs on different applications. The UI for the car, the UI for the phone. There's an app for the phone. There's a way that controlled the thing in the building. The robot himself, Otin, had to have the application that the cars, the mechanics of it had to make sense. Somebody telling me a person who knows how to code is not very imaginative stands a chance up with somebody versus somebody who's created an entire city. Leave that. Lord of the Rings. This guy created an entire civilization with different languages.
Yep.
If those people are not allowed to now use that creativity to do some other things outside their art, right? Because not by force everybody has to do it, right? But if there is that blockade where people don't expect the answers from them, so they're not given the opportunity to even approach these answers, what are we going to miss out as humanity in general? So that's a very big part of that. That's the second very big part of that. Change that and then see if that opens up the floodgates.
That's a very good point to leave us on. Before I wrap up the session, I always like to ask my guests about values. So it's a value that you would use for your professional life and one that you would use for your personal life. So just one word. So if we start with your professional life, something that carries you.
Professional life. Funny enough, they're very similar. I think.
Just one word, something that comes to your mind.
Personal life can be a word. That one, at least, I've reduced it down to empathy.
Empathy, yeah.
Yeah. Personal life, empathy, obviously understanding people, right? The pace they're going and everything. That would be from the personal life of things, just empathy. More of that you have, the better your personal life is going to be in general with anybody. Human beings are not machines, right? I know there was a thing online which was going around for a while, which was facts don't care about your feelings. Feelings don't care about your facts either.
Truth.
Right? It goes both ways.
Yeah, it does.
So there it goes, right, with people. In terms of professional life, I'll try and describe the saying maybe, or even what I'm thinking about. But I think I've echoed it throughout the conversation, but I'm just finding it difficult to find a word for it, which is pushing that envelope. I need as many people with values as close to mine as possible to be excellent at everything they do, right? And I don't mean excellent at what is expected. I don't mean excellent within what is judged right now. I mean even excellent of what is beyond what you thought was expected, right? Just pushing that. You may not do it, but just the attempt, right? I think there's a certain nobility to it as well. And a lot of people don't think about how much of a purpose it gives you as well. When you're pursuing something way bigger than yourself, it's driving, gives you a deep purpose and so on.
Yeah.
Perfect end on actually right there.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much for your time and just the knowledge that you shared, the quotes, the wisdom. If people want to find you, where can they follow your journey?
Cool. I'll give you my one and then Kugali.
Yeah.
So my one is Hamid Ibrahim portfolio, like a portfolio of work. That's Instagram mostly, and LinkedIn is just Hamid Ibrahim. Put Hamid Ibrahim Kugali, you'll find me on LinkedIn. Kugali is Kugali Media in most social medias, and then kugali.com on the website. I have a website as well, but it's not. I've had to visit it, but it's nice to look at, if I'm being honest. I only send people there when I'm doing something specific. But yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much once more. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you want to follow the Black Circles journey, we are on Black Circle Podcast and all social media platforms. Thank you.